going through it all, you feel like that it's going to be impossible to try to make it out of everything that you're going through. You feel like it's impossible, to overcome what you're going through and dealing with, and you feel like that, man, you don't see that light at the end of the tunnel, and you're like, man, you start giving up hope. Like you think the Father in heaven have left you. Like sometimes you can be suffering so much and going through so much pain, you feel like the Father in heaven has left you, but that's not the case. Father in heaven is just watching. He's just watching, how you want to overcome this one, how you want to pour through. Father in heaven, he never goes anywhere. He never goes anywhere. Throughout your whole suffering, you might feel like you're alone, but you got to think about it. The Father, he's watching even more when you're suffering and going through pain and going through what you're going through. He's watching you even more. Even though it may seem like that he's left you or forgot about you, that's the time that he's really paying attention to you the most, because he want to see, whether you're going to keep the faith. He want to see whether you're going to acknowledge him in all your ways. You remember what Job went through. Job, he went through, all types of stuff, plagues and, pain and suffering from blisters and, just being in the elements and stuff, and man, just all types of conditions that he had to, live in, and, he lost everything, Job lost everything, and he felt like giving up. Job, he felt like, throwing in the towel. He felt like, the Father in heaven has left him. He feel hopeless, But at the end of the day, Job, he still kept praying. He still kept worshiping the Father in heaven. He still kept acknowledging the Father in heaven in all his ways. He still kept going. He didn't give up faith. Because Job understood what I'm telling you. He understood at your most vulnerable moments, the moments when you just get attacked with spiritual warfare beyond recognition. You just getting your health attacked. People betraying you, people talking about you behind your back. You got people that you thought that was going to be there forever. It's gone out of your life. And those are the times that Satan is going to say, the Father in heaven, he forgot all about you. He left you. He don't really care about you, but you don't listen to that though. Because I got some scripture for you. Romans 8:28. And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are the called according to his purpose. Basically, guys, it's always going to work out at the end of the day. The Father in heaven, that scripture alone proves to you that the Father in heaven forgot about you in heaven. He haven't went anywhere. He haven't abandoned you. He's still with you, and you have to remain strong, Don't rely on your own strength. Draw strength from Jesus, to persevere and endure, because it's going to get worse, It's going to get a lot worse, but you can't let the spiritual warfare and hardship through trial and error stop you. You have to keep going, because if you give up, you got to think about it, guys. Think about it, Job, for instance. Job, he could have gave up. Jesus could have gave up. Jesus could have put the cross down and turned back around. Moses and them, Noah, they could have just gave up. They was getting attacked, mentally and physically. The spiritual warfare was at all-time highs. Things was happening. They couldn't understand why, but they kept going, though. They kept worshiping the Father in heaven by doing his works, and they kept acknowledging him in all his ways, because you got to think about it. When you think the Father in heaven has left you and don't care about you, and that he's forgot about you, that's when he's really paying attention to you the most. He's paying attention to you the most, not when you got it all and you balling like, like it out of control. You got all this money and all this, these material things, and everything's going good. No, he mostly pays attention to you the most when you lose everything. When you lose your Bentley, when you lose your Mercedes Benz you just purchased yesterday, when you lose the Lambo, you lose your mansion, you lose all your finances and stuff. Kids turning on you, family turning on you, friends turning on you because you ain't got nothing to give them. Yeah. That's when the Father in heaven is watching you the most. You want to see what you're going to do, because a lot of people, they fold. They fold, man, when they lose that Bentley. They fold when they lose that mansion. They fold when they lose all their money. They fold once they behind on bills. They fold once they can't no longer provide for themselves. They fold when they lose that job. They fold when family members turn on them. They fold when their kids turn on them. They fold when, life turns on them. They give up. People, they lose faith in God for stuff like that. Quick. They don't even, that mentally drains them so bad. They so focused on the material things, they mentally drain so bad. And Satan's like, yeah, I got you now. I used all that stuff to keep you enslaved to it. So when you lose it, you lose yourself. Yeah, he already got you. That's why the Father in heaven, he doesn't want you to love material things, because material things can, just like how Job's situation is, can be gone. Don't put your faith in materialistic things. Don't put your faith in people. People can go too. Trust me, people, I have lost a lot of people. I thought these are the people that I thought I was going to be with for the rest of my life. They gone. They act like I don't even exist. You help them out, they can't even tell you happy birthday. Yeah, it's all right though. I still love them, and it just, I see true colors. I got to keep my distance. That's all. I just got to go about it different for my mental sake. So, but just don't give up, guys. Just keep your faith in the Father in heaven. It's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. Job, I'm living testament that it's going to be all right. You're not alone out there. Always pray. Always find peace in your heart through Jesus. Accepting Jesus into your life. That's the only way you're going to live in peace. And at the end of the day, guys, Father in heaven will always come through.